Thinking about renting a apartment here in Serbia, whether it's for work, adventure, a fresh start, navigating the Serbian rental market may be tricky for foreigners. However, in this video, we're going to clarify some of the things that you need to look for when looking for an apartment here in Serbia. And stay tuned because you're going to need to know this information sooner rather than later. All right, and before we dive into this video, make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed already. What we talk about here at Relocation Serbia is helping those foreigners or people who have left Serbia many years ago and looking to move to Serbia or even visit Serbia if you're just coming here to tour the area before you make that final decision. And so this channel has loads of information, and we as a company have a team of professionals here that will help you with all your processes. If it's a temporary residency, opening up a business, bank account, purchasing property. We have lawyers that you can talk to here to make sure that you vet the properties, whatever it might be, purchasing a car, shipping your property over into Serbia, whatever it might be, we have those services available for you. And if you're looking to get some information before you come and actually make that move, you can actually check out the relocation guide that we have online, which is linked in the description below. And that will give you everything that you need to know about, cost of living, how to set up utilities, what are the process and documents you need when it comes to temporary residency, setting up a business, what you should be bringing with you, what you're going to need to get notarized when you're here or translated, so on and so forth. And if you're looking to do this process yourself, the relocation guide actually has a contacts in there for people that you can reach out to and that are vetted by us, that will treat you well and have that, job done for you when and if you decide to make that transition here. But let's dive into this video here. So number one is understanding the rent prices. So when it comes to rent prices, you have to also understand that some of the rents that are lower or higher are going to be because some of the places are furnished or unfurnished. So one thing that is uncommon in North America is when you rent an apartment, typically it comes unfurnished, and so you have to furnish it yourself. However, it's more common here in Serbia that when you rent something that you're going to have to, or that it's going to be furnished with the owner's furniture. And so when it is furnished with their own property, you're going to have to make sure that you take care of it as if it's yours, because some of these people will ask for a deposit, and if you ruin their furniture, they're going to deduct that from the deposit. Now in Serbia, rent is paid on a monthly basis. So when you see a listing that refers to a monthly rent or rate, that is something that you have to understand. If someone tells you that you got to pay 6 months ahead or something like that, you might want to stay away from that. And if you're looking for someone to come up with you, looking at apartments around in Serbia and not sure, how the process is going, you can also reach out to us at Relocation Serbia. We have people that will go out along with you and make sure that the language barrier isn't there, that we'll look over the lease agreements, so on and so forth, making sure that everything's kosher and so that you are covered and sitting pretty and not being taken advantage of as a foreigner yourself. Now, like I mentioned, also some properties come furnished, unfurnished, and you are able to bring your own furniture if you feel that you need to do so. And you can discuss with the owner of the property that, hey, listen, I'm going to bring my own bed. Is there a way that you can take the bed that's currently in here and put it in storage, so on and so forth? And, a lot of people are open to doing so. The way to identify apartment types in Serbia is a lot different than what you're going to be expected in North America. So one thing that you're going to see here is that many people will classify the apartment type here as the room count. So if you see a one room apartment here in Serbia, that does not mean that it's a one bedroom apartment. That is going to mean that it's typically going to be a studio apartment because it only has one room. All right. So you're going to need to understand the differences between that. If you see something that says two-room apartment, that's typically going to mean that it's going to have a one bedroom and a living room and a kitchen within that, which is two rooms, so on and so forth. So they're not going to actually classify it by how many bedrooms there are. They're going to classify it as how many rooms there are, and they don't include in those rooms if it's a bathroom or not. So you're gonna have to ensure that in that bathroom that it has a shower or a tub, it has a washing machine, so on and so forth. And again, that's something that you're gonna have to ensure that is done well before you sign the lease. Now, the importance of a written lease here in Serbia, especially for those that are looking to obtain residency here in Serbia, is that a written lease isn't always required. And so you may not always get that from the landlord, because a lot of the landlords here will ask for cash, and if there's a written lease, then there's a paper trail, and they're gonna not want to pay taxes on the money that they're collecting from you. And so ensure that when you do look to rent an apartment in Serbia, that you actually talk to the landlord and be like, hey, listen, I need to get residency here in Serbia, and so are you willing to get me a written lease here that states, everything that I can use the property for, what the rent is, so on and so forth. And that's something that I even myself got myself into a little bit of trouble with when I first moved here, is that the landlord agreed that he will get me a written lease, and I moved in, and we went through the whole, I got my citizenship or the application approved, and when it came time to submit my application for my lična karta, which is basically a personal identification card, I needed that lease, and at that point the landlord said, no, we're not going to do that. And so I had to figure out a little bit of a workaround on that one, which, people will be people, and you need to do sometimes things that you need to do for your best interest. So without a lease agreement, you cannot use that property for your residency application. So if it's something for residency, you are going to have a lease agreement unless you own a property. So if you come here and purchase a house, which is another way that our clients have done it, and then show that you bought a piece of property here, that also qualifies as a residency application address that you can use, and you do not require a lease agreement at that point. And before you pay a deposit, negotiate all written agreements with the landlord and make sure that they're legally valid. And again, like I mentioned before, that's something that we can ensure that with our lawyers. We'll take a look at, make sure that it's in the best interest for you and the landlord, so that it's equal, right? You don't want to have one person getting taken advantage of and the other one getting hosed. Let's make a fair agreement here. Let's do business the right way and not the wrong way. And we can also ensure with that, so that you have that peace of mind. One of the other things that you're going to have to look at here is that a lot of the times when you rent property here in Serbia, you're going to be renting directly from the owners. It's not going to be a third party intermediary. And so it's not like you go to a an apartment complex and you have to deal with the building manager and so on and so forth and put in an application, you're picking up the phone and you're speaking right to the landlord, which is the owner, and he's going to be the one that's in charge of fixing common issues. If you're looking to sublease the apartment, you're going to need to talk to them as well, so on and so forth. One of the other things you're going to also look when you're signing the lease is that your rent price is just your rent, or does that also include your utilities, so your internet, your electric? And one thing that we have in the apartments here in Serbia is informatica, which covers the cleaning of the hallways, the elevators, and your water bill as well. So make sure that you understand what the informatica bill looks like, what is the average price for the electric bill. And you're welcome to ask the person you're renting it from, let me see the past bills, and so that you're not blown away with a 10,000 dinar informatica bill when you're like, well, I can't afford that, and then you sign the lease and it's too late. That's something you need to learn to ask for, and something that's different from what we have in North America. Now, when it comes to lease cancellation terms, one of the most common questions we get is, what happens if my landlord cancels the lease? If you do not have a written agreement, the default legal notice period is only 8 days here in Serbia. That means your landlord could ask you to leave in just over a week. So if you have a lease, you are protecting yourself by negotiating a longer notice period. And that's something you should have in there as well. And it must be included in a written lease agreement. So if someone says don't need that, I won't kick you out, and give you short notice, put that in writing. If they're hesitant about putting it in writing, that's a red flag, because they might be screwing you in the long term, because they might have someone that's going to offer them an extra €100 a month, and they're going to be like, oh, well, if I can get an extra €100, this guy can be gone in 8 days and I'll bring in the new person. And we don't want that for anybody, especially the clients that we work with and that are taken care of. And I did mention utility costs, which is something you have to understand. Internet and stuff like that, you cannot get in your own name. You are going to have to talk to the landlord, especially if you need internet and you're a digital nomad. Internet is going to have to be negotiated with you and the landlord. The landlord will either ask you to send the money to them every month to pay the informatica, electric, internet, or what they might do is send you the uplatnica, which is the actual bill, and you'll just go to the post office and pay the bill in person yourself, which is a very simple process. It all depends on how you negotiate that with your landlord. And communicating with your landlord, is a must for foreigners. Finding a landlord, that speaks both languages, English and Serbian, is not going to be hard, but it's not going to be the easiest thing either. Depending on where you're renting, if you are in the center of Novi Sad, in the center of Belgrade, more likely than not, they're going to speak English. However, if you're looking at the outskirts, you might not find an English-speaking landlord. And like I said, that's why we're here to facilitate that communication between the two of you, especially when it comes to repairs and maintenance, if it comes to a renewal of your lease, or residency extension, so on and so forth. So ensuring that you have that communication, or are able to communicate with your landlord properly. And I know you can use, Google Translate, so on and so forth, but a lot of times those applications aren't the best because they don't actually translate the actual words properly, and the messaging can get a little bit mixed up in that sense as well. And so those are my top tips when it comes to signing a lease here and what you must know as a foreigner coming into Serbia. Some great sites to book in. Some places are on Facebook. You got Airbnb, bookings.com, and we got a couple other places in our tourist and our relocation guides that you can purchase, and it's a lifetime access, and we do update it as much as possible, and as rules and regulations change here as well in Serbia. And you get also access to a live Facebook group as well. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the comment section of this video. Hit that thumbs up on this video, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you on the next one.